Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Queen Anne's County Board of Education meeting for October 4th, 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Okay, the board met in closed session. Is someone going to
Yes.
review that?
Pursuant to the general provisions, Article 3-305 and 3-104, the Board of Education of Queen Anne's County met in a closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. And, I'm sorry, there's another one too, consult with counsel to obtain legal advice.
All right, thank you. Approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a time to review the agenda for tonight? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approval of the minutes for September 20th, 2023 open session.
Move to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Dr. Salins.
Yes, we have extra awards tonight.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Exciting. Ready? Good evening. As I said, we have some extra awards this evening that we're excited about. Am I good? Okay, so Queen Anne's County High School College Board National Rural and Small Town Award recognition. 5 Queen Anne's County High School students have been awarded the College Board's National Rural and Small Town Award. This is an award through College Board's National Recognition Program, which awards academic honors to sophomores and juniors who have taken eligible administrations of the AP Advanced Placement Tests, the PSAT or PSAT 10 exams, and have a GPA of 3.5 or higher, and identify that they attend high school in a small or rural town. This is quite an accomplishment. A very well-deserved congratulations to these following students. 5 students, which I think we have, not everyone here tonight, but so I'd like to invite up Elizabeth Hamilton. Also, Quinlan Justice. And Megan Shorts. And those that are not in attendance today are Molly Holthust and Elizabeth Oldfield. And if you just want to kind of step over there by Mr. Schiffinelli's nice tall. Congratulations. And Megan Schwartz. Congratulations. Scoot on in here. And one more round of applause, yes.
Right. Everybody look at me. Miss Capes, I need you to slide it over to the right. Thank you so much. Perfect.
And my apologies that Dr. Bryce is here on behalf of the students from the administration, so thank you for being here. And congratulations again. And 3 have Stacy. Oh, so our next award is one that we normally don't do this evening as well, for Kent Island High School AP Honor Roll recognition. So we will have, the administrators can come on up. We have Principal, I almost called you President. We have Principal Dan Harding and Dr. Rankin, the Academic Dean. Kent Island High School has earned a place on the College Board's AP School Honor Roll for the 2022-23 school year. The AP School Honor Roll recognizes schools that have done outstanding work to welcome more students into AP courses and support them on their path to college success. Kent Island High School earned an overall bronze rating for the 2022-23 school year, but is aiming for silver or gold this year. This rating is based on the percentage of students in the graduating class who have taken an AP exam at any point in high school, the percentage of students in the graduating class who have scored a 3 or higher on at least one exam, and the percentage of the students in the graduating class who took 5 or more AP exams in high school, where at least one exam was taken in 9th or 10th grade. Kent Island High School had 81.25% of their students score a 3 or higher on an AP exam last year, and is currently offering 23 advanced placement courses to their students. A very big congratulations to the hardworking students of Kent Island High School and the support of their administrative staff. So congratulations. My fault.
You're right. Dan. Okay. Ms. Bennett, if you just slide over a little bit to the right for me, please. Your other right, sorry. Thank you. Perfect, thank you very much.
Very good.
All right.
And now for our traditional awards. We're starting off with the Energy Bunny Award. This award is given to staff members who volunteer or keep on going. It is sponsored by Bayview Financial, and if Mr. Chip Brittingham and Mr. Wayne Humphries will please come forward with their Energizer Bunny. And I'd actually like Dr. Sprinkle to come up because this was, oh, she's already here. So this October's Energizer Bunny is Mrs. Gina Morris. The Energizer Bunny Award for the month of October is presented to Mrs. Gina Morris, who is an interpreter and a parent liaison for Queen Anne's County Public Schools. Mrs. Morris works extremely hard to ensure our English language learners and their families have the needed support and connection to school. She is well known and respected by the Hispanic and Latino populations within Queen Anne's County. This is due to her unrelenting efforts to call and visit families within our community. Families are responsive to Mrs. Morris because she is highly visible. In addition, she is well respected by her colleagues and is often consulted for her expertise. Congratulations.
Perfect. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Our next award is the Spirit Award. This award is given to an individual who embodies the spirit of Queen Anne's County Public Schools. Again, nominated by Dr. Marcia Sprinkle, and our October Spirit Award winner is Dr. Stacy Rankin. And we know that Principal Harding is here if he wants to come on up. Oh, look at that. Yay, come up. Aw. So, yeah. The Spirit Award for the month of October is presented to, as I said, Dr. Stacy Rankin, who is the academic dean at Kent Island High School. Dr. Rankin is known for her strong advocacy for students. She does everything possible to ensure students are successful and knows how to tap into district and community resources to support students' academic needs. This also includes thinking outside of the box. Dr. Rankin is always willing to support the district's need when she is called upon. She has been instrumental in helping to develop key foundational documents for the high schools in our district. Dr. Rankin is extremely knowledgeable and is a true asset to Queen Anne's County Public Schools. Congratulations.
All right, Mrs. Bennett, just
And our last award for this evening is the Shining Star Award. This award is presented to an individual in our school system who shines. And also nominated by Dr. Marcia Sprinkle, our October Shining Star is Betsy Andrews. The Shining Star Award for the month of October is presented to Mrs. Elizabeth, also known as Betsy Andrews, Administrative Assistant to the Assistant Superintendent and English Language Arts Supervisor. In addition, she is the coordinator for our Teacher of the Year program, which is huge. Betsy's ability and willingness to perform her many job responsibilities to assist whenever it is needed serves as an example of her work ethic and dedication to Queen Anne's County Public Schools. Have you worked in an environment and things that just need to happen just start happening? That's Betsy's working behind the scenes. She is a strong and mighty force in Queen Anne's County Public Schools. Betsy's tremendous strength, work ethic, loyalty, and desire to perform well each day is greatly appreciated and has been nothing but inspirational. Congratulations.
Oh, that's the same one we got in.
Are you all right?
Right. Moving right along as everybody's departing, most everybody. Board involvement. Would any member like the floor?
Sure. Let's see. What month is this? October, September 19th. Churchill Elementary back to school night was awesome. It was also the day that we got the announcement about them being a blue ribbon school. And so that was very nice to be there to watch some of the kids go back and meet their teachers and get some information. But on a more shorter note, I attended the MABE conference the last couple of days. There were some awesome speakers and activities, but the one that made it perfect for me, there was a lady that gave us a briefing on security around schools. Things to do, things to look for, how the community, students, teachers, and parents can help reduce the amount of violence that we have in our schools. And they talked about a lot of the training and things that go on, and I want to say that everything she talked about, Joe is already doing for us,
Nice.
Joe Sabori. And I was just grinning from ear to ear going, yeah, we already had that, or we already did that training, because he's already set that up for us. And when I talked to her afterwards, she actually knew him, and so I was just very thankful that we have him in our district helping us, making our schools safe, so.
Excellent.
I would second that for Joe Sabori. I just want to say, speaking of the Blue Ribbon Schools, it was so nice to go down Route 8 every day and see an LED lights for Manatee
Yes.
Elementary School on the American Legion board.
Yes.
But then also we attended the first meeting of our Citizen Advisory Committee, and I just want to get a shout out to that group who are behind the scenes, helping the board and helping the citizens make some connection and you know, telling us about what the community wants. And so that was a great meeting, and look forward to the rest of them.
Anybody else? All right. Let's see, student board members. Ms. Forte is at a track meet tonight, and I believe Dr. Kibler is going to deliver the report.
From the CAC?
No.
No, the student board
Oh, I'm
members.
sorry.
That's all right.
I was waiting for, yeah, sure. I have, sorry about that. The Queen Anne's County High School rep from NAY tonight because she couldn't be in attendance. So it's a series of dates, due dates for the month of October. So just to begin, October 5th, tomorrow, is the last day to register for the November SAT. October 7th is SAT testing. October 11th, flu mist vaccines will be given to students who signed up. The 12th, senior class meeting with Jocelyn's, plus they will have a table set up during lunches so seniors can order their cap and gowns. The 16th and 17th is the last chance for prestige portraits to take the senior portraits, and exclamation point, that's the last call for that. The 18th, PSAT testing for sophomore and junior students who signed up. This day is also underclassmen makeup picture day. The 19th, senior sibling photos are due to the yearbook staff. The 20th is a professional development day, no school for students. The 25th, the ASVAB fall testing for sophomores. October 26th is the National Honor Society inductions at 6 p.m. And finally, the FFA students will be traveling to Indianapolis from October 31st to the 4th of November for the FFA National Convention.
All right, thank you for that report. Cody Sandifer,
Thank you.
what you got?
Good evening. Ken Island has had a lot going on as we are now halfway through our first quarter. Last week, we had a clubs and activities fair during lunch, which allowed clubs to kind of advertise themselves, and students could walk around and find after-school activities that interested them. We have also been focusing on mental health and suicide prevention. Our KIHS Students for Wellness Club participated in our suicide prevention and awareness walk this past weekend, and today we had an assembly that was given by Alex Boyer, which was also for suicide prevention. This week for our school is College Application Week, and our guidance office has planned a bunch of activities to help people interested in four-year schools find colleges and start applying to them. One of these is a college bingo, which gets students to ask teachers about their college experiences and find what might be right for them. This month, Ken Island is offering both the PSAT and ASVAB exams to any interested students. And next week is our Homecoming and Spirit Week, which will include a pep rally on Friday. Every day next week, there's a theme to dress up, and on Saturday, we have a parade at 11 p.m., a game at 1 p.m., and our dance will be at 6 p.m. We are also very excited to announce that Ms. Schulte, QACPS's Teacher of the Year and MD School or High School Art Teacher of the Year, will be honored as Maryland Teacher of the Year finalist on October 13th. Thank you.
Outstanding, outstanding, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, the ASVAB test, is it the military?
Yeah.
Exam? So they offer it at the schools?
Yes, sir.
In both schools? Excellent. Dr. Sands?
Yeah, so I'm just going to give a big shout out for Queen Anne's County Goes Purple. We had our purple games. We had our ambassadors out. We did T-shirts for the games and everything. The games were both just wonderful and successful and a good time, but for a good reason too, to support it. So I just want to give a shout out for that. The schools did an excellent job with recognizing that and promoting it, and I was happy to be a part of it.
Okay.
Oh, and they both won, by the way.
That's important.
Very good.
Okay, moving on to citizen participation, public comment. Do we have anyone signed up?
I have no one signed up today.
All right. Is that a first? That might be a first. I don't know.
In a long time.
Yes, yes.
Okay, then we'll move on to information items. First is the state of the data review. Dr. Kibler.
Good evening, President Schiffinelli, Dr. Salins, board members and executive team. I'm Dr. Matt Kibler, the Director of Accountability. So I'm here tonight to present to you a state of the data review. This is really a review of our 2022-2023 MCAP data results. Mr. John Groh, our new Supervisor of Accountability Assessment and Data Management, he would normally be making this presentation, had an unfortunate incident in the family, couldn't be here, so I'm going to step in tonight, do the best I can, obviously in my department, but any questions we have, and I know I'll get to it, but we have some other opportunities for him to come back to continue talking about data as well. This is just one piece we wanted to share tonight. So just to begin, our purpose is to review last school year's MCAP data. This is basically the Maryland state testing. Look at our trends. This is our, so we have English, math, science, and government that we'll be looking at tonight. We also put some data in here to look at iReady results. So this is the math and English assessments, local assessments that students are performing in their classes. We wanted you to see some comparisons there, and as well as a little bit of an update on what's coming and what has happened on the Maryland report card. So I will say part of this is timely. The Maryland report card that we've shared and talked about with you before, this MCAP data that I'm presenting tonight, that was just updated on the report card last week. And I'll get to it again at the end, just as a reminder, with the Maryland report card, there's more data than just testing results. The full thing will be updated, including updating our school star ratings in December. But we wanted to make sure, now that the MCAP data results were released in public last week, that we were also presenting that to you all here tonight. So we'll start just with that. So to begin, we have our ELA results, our English Language Arts results. And as you can see, our grades 3 to 8 assessments. So statewide, 47% of students are proficient in ELA for grade 3 to 8. Queen Anne's County, you'll see we are down just about the darkest blue. We can get there. 59% of our students tested proficient as compared to 47% for the state of Maryland. So we are the top 5 there in the state. And if you remember these graphs from last year, this is similar. The darker the blue on this state map, the higher the proficiency level, or the larger total number of students that are proficient. So you can see we're second in the shore there, looking at that graph. This will be our first opportunity here. I wanted to talk about, the MCAP is one test, one snapshot in time at the end of the year in general, grades 3 to 8. What we wanted to show was just how much growth our students really see throughout the year. And what you look at on this is grades 3 to 8 iReady results. The pre-test at the beginning of the year is the top bar. The post-test at the end of the year is on the bottom. And what you can see is we had 32% of students that would have been tested proficient, sort of that equivalent to the MCAP results at the beginning of the year, and that basically doubles by the end of the year. So when we talk about student proficiency, yes, we can get one metric, how many of our students are proficient, but we think it's important that we're also looking at just, frankly, how much growth students are having throughout the year. Even though a student might not test proficient on that one MCAP test, we feel it's important to show how much all of our students are growing throughout the entire year. The English 10 assessment, so statewide, 54% of students tested proficient. In Queen Anne's County, that percentage is 67%.
And when you say English 10, that's 10th grade, right?
That's the 10th grade,
Right.
yes, at the end of
So
the,
it's clear.
yeah. So this would have been from either the combined result of the students that took it from the fall semester or spring semester, yes, and it's in English 10. So Queen Anne's County, 67% proficient compared to 54% statewide, and again, second on the shore, top 5 in the state. And then for ELA in general, we wanted to show just the proficiency. Easy for me.
Try it again.
I'm not going to try it again. Oh, well,
Sometimes it's
the
just
trend
come out.
over the last 5 years, not more than 5 years, the last 5 administrations of the test, there was a 2-year gap because of COVID. And we've also changed tests in there. We had the old Park tests in 2017, 18, 19. But if we want to look at trends, unfortunately, we do kind of still have to go back and look at that. And what you'll notice is that not only are we above Maryland in all 3 levels, above the average, which was already shown in those graphs, but really in ELA, we've talked a lot about learning loss during COVID, and we are back to those pre-COVID levels in proficiency for ELA. And just a couple key findings for English Language Arts: remain in the top 5, second in the Eastern Shore, and all schools remain above the state levels. It's about 11% above the level in elementary, almost 14% in middle, and almost 14% in high school. And then we'll move into math, if that's okay. So I think nationally and statewide, there's been a lot in the news about math scores across the country and the state, and we're not unique here in Queen Anne's County that our proficiency levels are not as high as our ELA proficiency levels. 32% proficient here in Queen Anne's County as compared to 25% to the state in grades 3 to 8. And I'll show the iReady as well. And this is, I think, really important to look at this growth throughout the year. Again, are our proficiency levels where we would want? No. But if you can look at the growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, where we had only 19% that looked on grade level at the beginning of the year, that increased 3 times in the course of the year, which I think is important. We know with COVID there was learning loss there. Our students are coming back, they're growing, they're not meeting the math proficiency levels yet. They are a new test. I know that Mr. Grow, the supervisor of accountability, is working with Ms. Smith, the supervisor of mathematics, looking at our data. They're planning to come back and do a presentation to you, I believe, in November, with some work that they're doing to address math scores and proficiency in the county, as well as sharing with you some of the initiatives that the state has around mathematics to address where we're at. The Algebra 1 assessment, Queen Anne's County, we had tested at 18% versus 17% statewide. So you can see we are more middle of the pack in the state of Maryland on Algebra 1. In general, this is students, there's no set necessarily grade level like the English 10 test when the students are taking Algebra 1. This could be in 8th grade in middle school, freshman year of high school. It's the combined results there. And then you can see our man, I did it when I said it again. Now I can't see it. But anyway, you can see our trends here. We have not got back to pre-COVID levels for mathematics. And again, I think with the combined efforts of Mr. Grow and Ms. Smith looking at our data and continuing to dive in recommendations from the state and other initiatives here internally, personally, I look forward, and I hope you do too, to a continued conversation around mathematics and their presentation, again, I believe in November, with some ideas to address this. And just those key findings. So we did maintain the 32% proficiency level in grades 3 to 8, 8th in the state, 18% in Algebra 1, again, middle of the pack, still second on the Eastern Shore, like our ELA scores, and performing just a little bit better than the state average. Middle school particularly stood out. So hopefully, the hope would be with the middle school Algebra 1 scores continuing to grow, we'll just continue to see us increasing the math proficiency. We also have the science results. This is the MESA test. So the state proficiency level here is 34.5% for last school year. Queen Anne's County, fourth in the state, 44% proficiency. Very proud about that. And that's number 1 on the shore. That's the grade 5, the grade 8 science, third in the state, 37.6% compared to 26 in the state. And just at the top on the shore. And this is just showing the score itself. So we were 41% proficient. The average scale score was a 742 in the state versus 744 here in Queen Anne's County. So this is the high school science test. And you can see that increase got the scale a little off there. I missed that when we put this in here. So we did not double in proficiency, but did see an increase from last year over the past 2 years. Key findings were in the top 4 in the state. The biology scores are going up, the high school scores 7% higher, and doing well in science. And then lastly, our government results. Again, our scale score, our high school government, the students tested 47% proficient, and their score was an average of 442 versus the state average of 436. And I'm assuming the state did not put the same graphs together that they did for ELA and math. There's such a focus there, and that's why we had to present the data in this way. So our average high school government scores are 5% higher than the statewide average, and we're 9th in the state, 2nd on the shore again. So just as sort of a last update here, the data that we just saw here is updated on the Maryland report card. I believe it was updated around September 27th, I think was the go live for that. Excuse me if I was a day or two off on that, but that was just recent. That's why we wanted to bring that to you here today. At this link, you all in the public can go and see our data. You can look at it by the district, the county, down to the school level, the grade level, and by different demographics and the different student groups. MSDE will update the full report card in December. So again, when we talk about full report card, that's going to have things like high school graduation rate, attendance rate, and then the star ratings will update in December as well. So after that, we plan another, depending on what the actual release date of that, would we do the board work session in December or the January board update, but we'll come back and share that with you all again. And I'm happy to take any questions right now.
Well, the math scores that we've got, as low as they are nationwide and within the state and even the county, are these still attributed to the COVID learning loss, or are there other theories out there why math generally is so low?
I would speak to a couple points. First off, if you go back to the trends, you can see a significant drop in that COVID year from when we came out of COVID. We know that's part of it. The other thing that happened on this graph, just like ELA, we went from the PARCC test to the MCAP tests. And when they went to MCAP tests, they were also working on the cut scores. So what counts as proficient, what doesn't, for each of the levels. And there's a lot of discussion at the state level of what's appropriate or not. And with the MCAP test, they actually increased the cut score. And we can bring that data, and it's actually a part of the November presentation we'll see. I believe it was somewhere 10 to 20% of our students are what they would call like on the cusp, so just below that cut score. So if the cut scores were where they were, like mirroring old assessments, they actually would be testing proficient. So it's not all just us here doing one test. The state's still trying to get the math test right, frankly. Now, the levels are still lower than ELA. We know there's a problem, but we know the test is playing a part in that too.
I just wanted to share, actually, we were in a MAVE conference yesterday, a presentation with the state, and they shared that they have been doing a year-long research project, basically looking at our testing to see, is it actually aligned to what the expectations are to show that they're going to be successful when they leave here, meaning to higher ed expectations. And over and above that, looking specifically at those cusp students and also bringing in other indicators such as GPA. Here on the shore, in our MOU with Chesapeake College, several years ago, we did petition and determine that a certain specific grade point average does predict that a student will be successful, actually at a higher rate than their actual score when in and of itself of a snapshot in time. So that, looking at your GPA is over a long period of time. And so I know that they're going to be coming out. The state board will be having a state meeting where they're going to be sharing this information. I believe it's next week. And I say to tune in, because I'll be tuning in for sure, because they will be voting on and making a decision on basically changing the cut score and or a combination of adding GPA which will positively impact. So what they did is they trended and followed students who left school and attended college and to see what was their GPA and were they successful. And what was that range? Was it 2.75 and they were successful? Was it a 3.0 and they were successful? And also the students who had earned a score that was below the cut, but considered on the cusp within 2 or 3 points, were they successful? And what the research is showing that they were successful. So that's telling us that as a state, we've put that cut mark too high. And so that will impact our students. And if they're being successful at, getting a score lower and they're still being successful, then we need to give them credit for that. So those cusp students should be getting credit. And it will impact us overall because as it relates to the blueprint for Maryland schools, CCR indicators in there help students to access, additional dual enrollment opportunities or CTE opportunities. So we want to make sure that as a state of Maryland that we get it right so that we can have, those students, more students accessing what they need to make them successful as they move from school to either college or some type of apprenticeship or business work. So more to come, and we really do need to tune in. And next time we will have a math update on what we're doing. I do think there's a multitude of variations. I also think we've talked about the training and professional development for our staff as it relates to math, conceptually speaking. Math is something that you build on different skill sets.
Right.
You can't do kind of one thing without knowing how to do one thing. Sure. And reading approach, the science of reading is different than that. So I do think that plays a role here of what, as school districts throughout the state of Maryland, that we do need to do to provide our staff with more opportunities for professional development, which we're always fighting because we only have so many professional development days. They get filled very quickly. We've been doing an initiative for the science of reading, so we put a lot of time and energy in that. And when we're doing that, what else falls off?
Right.
And so, so those are all things that we need to work on for sure. But next month we'll come back with what we are doing, and we'll have hopefully a state determination on what the changes to the CCR are going to be. So stay tuned.
A lot of our rankings look very good. I mean, we're in the top 3 or 4. I guess the one that stands out to me is the algebra one. I mean, we're in the middle of the pack there. We seem to do very well with everything else. And if we're all being judged the same, okay, the test might not be right, this might not be right, we have to change things, but we're still in the algebra one. Looks like to me, we need resources to be put there. That looks like where we're lagging compared to most other things.
Yep.
And it will be interesting. It's gonna take time.
I understand.
But when we look at this graph, the elementary students, where their proficiency level is, it's gonna take 5 years.
Right.
Get them up to algebra, and see where we're at continuing to come out of the pandemic. But you're right, Mr. Smith. In the immediate, we need to figure out.
I mean, and I know it's not an overnight fix. It's it's a
we
building block thing, like Dr. Salen says. But somehow, we're not doing as good a job in that avenue as we are some of the other ones.
Agreed.
All right, any further questions?
No, thank you.
All right, thanks, Matt. We really appreciate that,
Yeah.
standing in.
Of course.
Okay, capital improvement program update, Mr. Barraclough.
Oh, you want that one?
Yeah.
Let me see here.
There we go. All right. Good evening, President Schiafinelli, Vice President Bennett, board members, Superintendent Salins, executive teams. I'm Darrell Barraclough, School Facility Coordinator. I'm here this evening to present an overview for Queen Anne's County Public Schools Capital Improvement Program for fiscal years 2025 through 2030. The CIP serves many purposes. First and foremost, a board-approved CIP must be provided to the IAC each year. Additionally, it helps align the state and county funding programs with the needs of the school system. There are essentially two types of projects: major capital projects in which the state participates, and minor capital projects in which the state does not participate in. For examples, the major projects are new and replacement schools, renovations, additions, systemic renovations such as roof replacement, HVAC replacement, and then moving into the minor projects, that would be interior adjustments like guided vestibule improvements, interior painting, playground improvements, technology updates, site work, paving projects, those sorts of things which are ineligible for state funding. The costs typically for major projects that the state participates in are $200,000 or greater, and regarding they're technically minor capital projects when it comes down to local, but they can vary greatly. You'll see that when we get into the a little bit further in the presentation on some of the local projects that are in excess of $9 million for this fiscal year. So. Cost share formula. One of the things that you may notice with this year's CIP, in July of 2023, the IAC adopted new state share figures for fiscal year 25 and 26. The revised share for Queen Anne's County went downward from 51% participation to 50% participation. The IAC reviews several factors which are listed to the left of the slide there. Within this year's CIP, moving on, you may notice a few changes from prior year's CIP that from my prior experience with where I came from school system-wide, we incorporated some additional things with the CIP to kind of help provide information on the various projects and kind of give a little bit of a narrative on things. One of the few pages that you'll see, we've each fiscal year, we provide a narrative for each of the state participated projects as well as the locally funded projects. Within that narrative, you'll see the state share, the local share, and then obviously on the local share projects or the locally funded projects, there's $0 from state standpoint and it's 100% funded locally. Piggybacking onto the narrative side of things, another new addition to the CIP is basically a strict accounting dollar-wise for each project for each fiscal year, both from projects that receive IAC funding and projects that are locally funded. Here you'll see a breakdown of what the state participation is, what the local participation is, and then the total project cost. And then each project is listed in its priority. So, for example, in fiscal year 25, if the state doesn't give us all $7 million that we're looking for, we would prioritize the funding based on projects from 1 to 4 for fiscal year 25. One of the things that happens kind of behind the scenes of the capital project or capital improvement program is, in order to develop the project costs from a grand scale, I've got to go in and develop things like the soft costs for furniture and equipment and as well as design costs, and then break it down with the 50-50 split that we're now doing with the state share. And then on a project such as Centerville Middle School, since that's a multi-year funded project, then I have to work out the cash flow. That's something that also kind of takes place kind of behind the scenes of the CIP. So moving on to the fiscal year 2025 funded projects. First project on the agenda for funding is Centerville Middle School planning. This is going to basically fund the architectural engineering costs. We did just receive a cost proposal from Wheeler Goodman Massick, who are the architects who are doing the central office building, to participate in ed specs for the new Centerville school. So the process there will be, we'll develop ed specs, then that will determine the program for the school. We'll move into a feasibility study that will then tell us what direction we're going to go, whether that's going to be a replacement school or will that be a renovation of the existing school. So that feasibility will basically vet all of that, and then we'll move right from the feasibility into the design, and that's what this $3.7 million is for. Moving on, we have a couple of systemic projects. We have Queen Anne's County High School roof replacement. That's an $8.7 million project. Third on the list is Queen Anne's County High School fire alarm replacement. We do have quite a few fire alarm replacement projects in forecasted years of the fiscal year CIP moving out in other years. The reason for that is they've all pretty much, the older systems have reached end of life. We're having issues. A lot of the smoke detectors can't be replaced. Programming the system, it's just kind of fallen to its end of life. So we've got them in on an annual basis. Pretty much we're doing at least one fire alarm replacement each year. And then last on the list is, we're doing two this year, next year, Kennard Elementary School fire alarm project. This actually is a carryover from prior year CIP. The county has actually already funded this project, but the state, we moved state funding that the state was willing to give us. We moved the state funds to help fund the Kent Island High School roof replacement that we did last fiscal year. So we're kind of moving this one again forward so that hopefully we can get this one funded and completed next year. Moving into FY25 locally funded projects. First on the list is this would actually be the second year of funding for the new central office building. FY24, the county already has given us about $9.3 million for the first year of construction, which pretty much falls in line with where we are design-wise and bid-wise. That project will be going out for bid roughly in about a month. It's scheduled to hit the streets November 1st, with bids expected before year end, and then hopefully come the new year we should be bringing a contractor and a bid forward that we can ask for approval for. So this $9 million here, which would become available in July of next year, will be the second year and final year of funding for the building construction. Obviously, with a new building comes new furnishings and equipment. The county is funding $1.5 million for that. We have Kent Island High School storm sewer repairs as the next project on the list. If you're familiar with what we did this past summer at Kent Island, we had a lot of underground stormwater repairs. They did work at the stormwater management facilities there to dress them up and clean them up. There was quite a bit of areas that were a little worse off than what was expected. So this is kind of a phase 2 of repairs there. And this is actually the estimate here is taken right from the contractor who was doing the phase 1 work. So we feel pretty confident that this is a good number of what we're going to see in phase 2 for Kent Island High School. The fourth on the list is Kennard Elementary School storm sewer repairs. This is a fairly small project, but we had a sinkhole appear in the field of Kennard over this past summer. And after further investigation, there's some things that are going on underground there that we want to get an engineer involved in it. More than likely, we're going to have to do some sort of stormwater management to address the parking lot that's closest to the road. It's not the front parking, it's kind of the side parking. We're gonna have to do some repairs to the storm sewer that's underground there. And then now that since this would become a new project, we're gonna be forced to adhere to new best management practices with stormwater mitigation and stormwater runoff and filtering and pretreatment and those sorts of things that that weren't employed in the original design for that. Fifth on the list is Queen Anne High School Stadium Field lighting replacement. That would be a replacement of the stadium lights. We would be moving to LED lights for that facility. And then next on the list is elementary school interactive display and middle school, high school interactive laser projector replacements. And what we're doing there is we are plugging in replacements for the different schools on an annual basis so that we're kind of staying ahead of the end of life for those devices and trying to stay on the edge of technology improvements for the schools. As the technology improves, we're trying to stay in time with that. Seventh on the list is a playground replacement at Sudlersville Elementary School for the ages 2 through 5 playground replacement. Last on the list is universal pre-K furniture, which is a $200,000 funding from local. Overall, for the state-funded projects from fiscal year 26 through 2030, I'll go through these pretty quickly. We have Mattapique partial roof replacement, Kennard Elementary School HVAC, Kennard Elementary School full roof replacement, and then last for 2026 would be the Kent Island Elementary School fire alarm replacement. Moving on to 2027, we've got Mattapique Middle School partial roof replacement. One of the points I'd like to make with this is you'll see that is starting at priority 2. The reason why that's starting at priority 2 is that priority 1 for 2027 would be the construction funding for Centerville Middle School, whatever we're going to do there, whether that's a replacement school or renovation. So that would be priority 1 for that fiscal year. 2027, Centerville Elementary School fire alarm replacement. Moving into 2028, we have Queen Anne's High School addition study. And number 3 for that fiscal year is Kent Island High School addition study. Again, those 2 projects start at number 2 because that marks the 2nd year of funding for Centerville Middle School. One of the other points that I wanted to make, the high school addition study, the feasibility study, as well as the construction, those are carryovers from the prior year's fiscal year cycle that was presented and approved last year. With the board's comments at the last meeting and a lot of discussion that's been happening in the last month or 2 about this project and potentially making this a CTE. Obviously, making this a CTE could potentially provide some relief to the high schools. So there's a lot of things that are going to be kind of in motion with the fiscal year budgets that are out in that 28-29 range. Once we figure out what we're going to do with this building, if the county buys into this becoming a CTE, full-fledged CTE building, like I say, it's going to relieve a lot of the square footage issues at the high school level, which is obviously going to improve the enrollment and capabilities at those 2 sites. 29, we have the Queen Anne's High School addition construction, Kent Island High School addition construction, Mattapique Middle School fire alarm replacement, Mattapique Elementary School fire alarm replacement, and we're into fiscal year 30 with Centerville Elementary School HVAC, and wrapping up, am I wrapping up? No, I've got one more. Graysonville Elementary School HVAC, and Bayside Elementary School boiler and pump replacement. So you see we've got a lot of systemics in the future years with roof replacement, fire alarm replacements, and HVAC jobs. So that pretty much wraps up my CIP. So any questions?
Pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, I know.
I tried to put as much information in here as I could because I know there's a lot of balls in the air right now with projects, and the county is willing to fund quite a bit of projects. Where I came from, I didn't have that luxury, so I'm trying to take advantage of every dollar they want to spend. So
Right.
Smart move.
I did have a question just about the state-funded ones for fiscal year '25. It just seemed there was a bigger chunk of the state funds than local. Was there some reason why they're doing a higher percentage on that Centerville Middle School planning?
Let me go
Sorry, yeah,
back.
it was the fiscal year '25 state-funded projects.
Yeah, that's, I don't have a really good explanation for why the breakdown is that way.
I'm grateful, don't get me
It,
wrong. but-
it is, on state-funded projects, when we start talking about planning, there's really no science to it. They pretty much give you the form and you enter in the enrollment, you enter in enrollment projections, current enrollment, and those sorts of things. And then when you start talking about the square footage, you plug those numbers in, and it's all derived from the number of students. That pushes the square footage, and then the funding just works down in the spreadsheet. One of the things that is going to happen from here tonight is if the CIP is approved, it then moves to the state level for review. They'll take a look at this. There may be some shifts here and there with the money, but the only answer that I can give you that I can say for sure is that's the way the form broke it down.
Okay.
When we do get into, it's not in the presentation because I didn't want to make the slides too drawn out. It was already long enough. I didn't get into the construction funding in the presentation, but it is in the actual CIP. If you look at the state funding projections for FY '27 and '28, it does show the building breakdown, and you'll see there that the local is actually a few points higher than the state share there, and that's because the state doesn't participate in several items that they basically say are ineligible.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, just a few years ago, funding changed because they used to not give us any money for planning, and they used to not give us any money for what we consider soft costs, which are usually associated more towards the end of the project as it relates to furnitures and things like that. And that's changed, correct?
Correct,
And
correct.
I feel like that may have some impact on these numbers that
higher.
look different.
Yeah,
I can't say that for sure, but
Yeah, the
That
soft
might-
costs,
that
the
might be.
design costs, as well as the FFE, the furniture and equipment, they're now
now
participating in.
participate,
so.
which they never did before. They just did bricks and mortar before. So that has changed, and I think that changes the calculation slightly.
I mean, and this is to me, a very important document to this board because, we do our yearly budgets for operating, but this capital budget gives us a future of what's going to happen because, a lot of people saying, when's the middle school coming, what's happening, this and that, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's a, it's a 2 or 3 year process before you even are shovel ready. But also, this is what will be up for approval this evening.
Yes,
I also
correct.
got to remember that next year, a project, not Day's project, but a project 2 or 3 years down the road could get moved around somewhere because of different functions that go on because, this might not be needed at the time and stuff like that. I think the Kent Island High School roof was a perfect example.
Absolutely, and the other things that could come into that as well is if, for example, if we start experiencing, if we knew that a roof needed to be replaced from an age standpoint, but if maintenance starts dealing with very significant issues that begin to impact the educational ability of that school, we're going to obviously move those sorts of things forward, and then obviously maybe push an HVAC project out a little further to kind of make the funding work. One of the things that goes into this is meeting with the county folks and making sure that we don't have a CIP that's like a roller coaster ride. They want a pretty consistent CIP so that they're not trying to chase.
Have twice as much money one year as the next year and
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Is that what happened a little bit with the Kent Island sewer system? I mean, because you said that there were some issues that came up when they were working on that sewer repair. And so now there's a phase 2 as a result of it. Was there always going to be a phase 2?
No, it is a result of what we found out in the field. And as a matter of fact, the phase 1 part of that was all addressed through county DPW through, I believe it was I don't want to, I don't want to try to guess the acronym because I'll get it incorrect, but it was through a state grant. So it was funded through a state grant, and they came out and did a lot of the storm sewer work. They did a lot of corrections. They found a lot of things that, just like anything else, when you start digging in the ground, you don't know what you're going to find, and we found a lot of problems that we didn't think we were going to encounter. So we had the contractor, while he was working on the project, I'll call it phase one. It wasn't intended to be phase one, but while he was working on the first phase, he cameraed a lot of lines, and we found a lot of problems that were hidden underground that, just in the 25 years that those systems have been in operation, they've just gotten progressively worse with time. Pipes that have become disconnected underground and misaligned just from, activity of movement, soil settling, and those sorts of things. Pipes have become misaligned. Pipes have become sagged and are holding water and different types of silt and those sorts of things. And we've even found some materials that shouldn't have been used were used, and that sort of thing. So,
Thanks.
Well, I think it's a very good document for the general public, especially parents, when they see our schools. They can look at this thing and say, yes, this is what we're looking at doing, and this is when we're looking at doing it. Because, you always get these questions a lot of times.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I wanted to try to do with this CIP versus some of the prior CIPs is that if you just look at a state form and it's just got a lot of spreadsheet numbers all scattered around, it's kind of hard to put it all together. And that's why I wanted to create the narratives to kind of give just a quick snapshot of what each project is, whether it's in the just straight language of it's a roof replacement and the reason why we're doing a roof replacement. Here's the financial breakdown from a state standpoint and a local standpoint. I think it provides a good snapshot of where we need to be in 25, but also for the next 5 years out.
All right, any other questions?
On a follow-up question, the smart boards,
Yes.
do you have a status? Are they completed now, being installed, or are we still
They
waiting on
are
it?
still being worked on. I think
Sure.
we're down to, I think 5 left, if I'm not mistaken.
Perfect,
That was
thank
at
you.
Kennard.
Yes.
Yes,
And then we're moving on to 2 other schools that also have some that need to be installed as well.
Yeah, I don't know the count on those right off the
Yeah.
top of my head.
It's not
Okay.
a lot, but we do have 2 other schools that we have equipment that they purchase with different grants and things.
right.
Right,
So-
yeah, we did get grant funding that we
For-
just got
for a few of
resolved
them.
for Title I,
For
I
Title
think it
I
was,
and such,
exactly.
so.
We're
so
still
move on
working
to
on the
those.
installation.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
And I do know that we interviewed for electrician yesterday, so hopefully we can get them on board and
Hopefully get them
help
on
with that,
board,
help
yeah.
with the installation of some of that kind of stuff too.
Cool.
Great,
Any questions?
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Okay, Time to Care Act. Dr. Noel?
I think I might have just closed you out. Don't have one good.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Salins, executive team. For the record, Michael Knoll, Director of Human Resources. I come before you tonight with just a very brief follow-up to last month's Time to Care Act, because some of your questions, I don't think I articulated well enough what you needed to hear. So I want to kind of break down exactly what it is and what it is not. So the $10,000 fee is our projected cost to join the coalition with what Mr. Nagel informed me was 21 other counties. So strength in numbers is definitely going to benefit us moving forward with that. They will then take the lead on forming the RFP, going out to bid, and selecting the insurance group that will oversee the coalition. By not joining the state, what that does is it buys us time. So as the employer and the employees, we will not have to pay as early as those that join the state. So that is what I did say. But there will be an eventual cost, and we will not know that yet. I can't tell you what that's going to be yet until after the RFP. But I will come back to you and keep you abreast of just where this process is. So at some point, there is going to be an employer share and an employee share. And once that rate is set, that's when we will sit down with the association and determine what those rate payments will be from employer and employee. So the overall benefit of this is, again, strength in numbers and having MABE and MACO kind of drive the bus for most of the state with what this new law is going to mean for our employees and for us as employers. But as I said, that hopefully clears up some of the questions that you had. If you do have others as we go through this, please don't hesitate to contact me, and I will come back to you as we know more from the coalition that we did join to share with you the progress and where we are as a county and as a state with this program.
Do we have a timeline of when we think the RFP will be ready?
In the spring is when they will go to RFP, and then we will know something after that. So that is when MABE and MACO will go through the RFP process and select the vendor that they will then work with. They're already working with the Department of Labor so that they are in compliance with the law and working already behind the scenes to try and really get us the best rate possible.
Yesterday, Mr. Wilson, Jack Wilson, represented MACO during the leadership meeting to discuss some of the stuff during the leadership lunch yesterday. So they may have some additional information that we could ask for.
And so just to clarify, after they go to RFP and they select, then we'll know what contribution that the employer
Correct.
and the contribution that the employee
Correct.
has to make. The $10,000 was a payment into it
That's
to be
into
able
the
to
coalition,
join,
yes.
so that they do the heavy lift. Otherwise, that would fall on us
Correct.
and gives us power in numbers.
Yes,
Right.
and by joining, we don't have to pay as early.
Correct.
Like the law was pushed back a year already, but those that join the state plan have to start paying into it, employees and employers, in October of next year, where we will not have to by joining the coalition for almost another year after
Gives
that.
us an extended
Yes.
time period.
Do we have, any of the, it was 21 counties plus us, so there's 22 counties? that
There's
joined us?
21 total counties, I
Okay,
believe.
will you guys see what the proposals are before, or will this MACO and MABE just make that decision?
They will make
Okay.
all those
They'll make all-
decisions. Yes, but I will share, as I learn, I will share with the board. Okay?
All right, thanks a
All
lot.
right,
Dr.
thank you.
Flynn. Yep. Okay, Dr. Salins, update on the gender gap issue, I
Yes.
guess?
So thank you, Dr. Kipper's
Yeah.
gonna.
Just don't ask me to say proficient.
So the purpose of this presentation is to share the next steps and the plan of action to review the gender gap that exists in and among the data points for Queen Anne's County. Just to give the board a little bit of history, which they know, but just to kind of bring it to the forefront, that the board shared concerns that the gender gap appeared to exist between female students, that they were tending to outperform their male counterparts. And so I contacted the Regional Educational Laboratory of Mid-Atlantic to research the gap and to provide some recommendations in the reduction of the gap. And those reports and findings were actually proposed to the board at our last board meeting in September. So following that report, I tasked, just like I did with the 620 policy, if the board remembers, we had some concerns about that. And I tasked Dr. Sprankle to create a team to be able to create a plan of action and make recommendations to the superintendent. So in that same style and format, I've done the same thing here. So under the direction of our assistant superintendent and in collaboration with her team of curriculum instruction folks, I've asked them to take a deeper dive into the district data points, which include specifically iReady. Dr. Kibler presented some of that information today, but not at the granular level of to recognize gender. Also attendance, discipline, other state data, specifically MCAP, but there are other tests as Dr. Kibler shared this evening. Identify a structure to establish those trend data, so present those in some type of format for us to review. Identify additional instructional strategies that may be implemented throughout the district and by grade band, and then ultimately create a plan of action to present to me as well to be able to make some decisions on those recommendations in that plan of action. So the progress to date, the good news is that the CNI team has already had at least an opportunity to meet once They reviewed the same report that the board members received. What we consider in education, they unpacked that report of those recommendations. They highlighted some of the current recommendations that they're already doing that were in the report, and then they actually rejected some of the recommendations that were brought to the table, such as starting male students later than female students. So the timeline, the curriculum and instruction team will meet in October, again in November, again in December, to complete a plan of action. The initial gender gap report will be taken to the CAC and the SSIC in October so that they can review it. The plan of action will then be presented to the CAC and the SSIC in January to seek their feedback. And then the plan feedback will be reviewed by the curriculum and instruction team, so that information that Dr. Kibler gathers up from CIC and SSIC will go back to Dr. Sprenkel's team, and that will be reviewed in February. The plan, if needed, because of the feedback and recommendations, if it needs to be updated, tweaked, or modified in any way, will take place on that. It'll be presented to me, and then subsequently will come to the board in February. That's kind of the plan of action. Welcome to feedback from the board.
Nice timeline.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's good.
I knew nothing about, I mean, this has been going on for a long time. But when I go down, we know that if children get behind early stages, they never get caught up. And that's elementary school.
Yes.
But when I go to elementary schools, do you think because there's a lot less male teachers in elementary school that some of these males aren't relating as well as they would? I mean, I don't know. That's just,
I think there's many factors, to be honest with you. I think that's just one. I think developmentally speaking, that male students don't develop as quickly as female students. That doesn't mean they don't have the same outcome at the end of the game, but in the start of the game, sometimes they're a little bit more, developmentally struggling. So I do think there's lots of different factors, but the great news is that the blueprint recognizes that, the foundation of learning needs to start as early as possible. And for that, they're putting in, requirements for us as it relates to pre-K 3 and pre-K 4. And the greater news is that, we did a fast acceleration of that. So we did a 3-year plan, and we're in year 2 of that. We had 100 seats when I walked in the door. We have 240 pre-K seats. Next year, we're going to be adding 80 seats, and we will have all the availability at that level in just 3 years for 4-year-olds, which is amazing. And when we get them in the door at 3 and 4 years old, we're going to be able to adjust some of that foundation that they have so that they are truly ready at kindergarten to accept that learning. And so I think there's going to be a lot of variations to this. You also throw in the amount of tutoring that we've been getting money for that, which is going to no doubt impact this as well. So there's going to be a lot of different variables. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure that we're able in the long run to pinpoint, when you see that reduction, it's probably going to be attributed to many different factors and not just one. But I kind of say, let's let the team do some work. Let's look at some solid strategies, and then let's put all those strategies to it. And hopefully one or a combination of them will assist in reducing that gap. And not just honestly between the genders, but just reducing the gap between all of our students, that they're all achieving at their highest potential. So.
Any other questions? All right, I know that answered a lot of questions we had earlier. So we're set for thanks, Matt. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Again. And Dr. Salins. So we're set for break. Do we want to just keep on going?
I say keep
All right.
going. Yeah.
See a lot of nodding heads. All right. So current action items, overnight trip approval for the Queen Anne's County High School Lions Band. Mr. Wright.
Good evening, Board. I am Eric Wright, the band director at Queen Anne's County High School, and we are coming to petition for approval of our spring trip this year. For us, looking at this, it's a very special one in the fact that this was supposed to be the exact trip that we were supposed to go on at the end of April of 2020. And we had looked forward to it for a couple of years as I had been developing a rotation plan over 4 years and where we would go in each of those years. And at one point we had gone out to Sandusky, Ohio, but knowing what weather is and festivals don't happen until mid-May and all of our testing, the windows changed, and so we had to bring something around into a different place. And so we had looked to replace that with going down to the festival down at Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And 2020 was to be the first chance to try that new location and new festival. And we know how the world happened with that. So as we started back in and started with going down to the festival down in Norfolk and Williamsburg last year, we had a very successful reinstatement of the programs that we were doing, and things turned out very well for us. And so we are looking to head down to Pigeon Forge this year. On that schedule, we would leave from Queen Anne's County High School on Thursday morning, travel down and get settled in on Thursday evening, and then Friday morning after breakfast, we would actually have the opportunity to visit the Titanic Museum. We have heard a lot of very positive things about it, and just when I said we were going to Pigeon Forge, I had several students say, can we go to the Titanic Museum? And I said, that is one of our proposed places to go. So we would do that with our adjudicated concert performance on stage at a local high school, then Friday evening. And then Saturday morning, first thing, the Marching Lions would do a parade review there at the high school in a parking lot, most likely. And then we would then be able to spend the day at Dollywood, where we would attend our awards ceremony and then travel home on Sunday. So that would be our itinerary and plan for the trip.
Well, I must say you're enthusiastic. I was at the high school a couple nights ago, stopped by the stand to get a hamburger, and was talking to a few of your booster members. Very energetic, very people that are positive. I think you go to Orlando another couple of years.
Every 4 years,
4
we've
years
done the trip to do the Disney Live on Stage, and have done that several times in my tenure here.
The only problem is I dated myself. I asked them if they remember going to London, and they remember. But anyway, they were very enthusiastic, and it's a great job you guys do.
Thank you.
Do you need any more chaperones?
Sure, I will always take chaperones.
Pigeon Forge is fun.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Sure, Mr. President, I move that we allow the Queen Anne's County High School Band to travel to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee from May 2nd, May 5th. The budget source is from a variety of student payments, fundraisers, and boosters.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you so much.
You're good.
Have fun.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've reviewed the human resources and substitute bus driver report. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move to accept the HR report as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, back to the capital improvement program. Mr. Bracklow.
Good evening again. Darrell Barclow, School Facility Planner, seeking approval for the 2025 Capital Improvement Program.
All right, and we've already gone over that.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the capital improvement program for fiscal year 25 as presented.
Second.
All right, motion is second. No more discussion, I assume. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
No, the other one, first one there. Okay. So we have Ms. Smith, who's not here. She showed up early in closed session for reasons of privacy of the students. We have 3 non-public tuition contracts that need to be approved.
Is there, may I ask for all 3 at the same time, since there's going to be no discussion? Is that all right?
I think it's fine.
Can do it either way. Okay.
Sure.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the 2 non-public tuition students for Phillips School in Laurel. Each of them is for the total of $63,910.80 from our fiscal year 24 restricted and unrestricted funds. And then also 1 non-public tuition for the Children's Guild Incorporated Transformation Academy in, it says McLean. And that would be for a total of $151,202.11 from fiscal year 24 restricted and unrestricted funds.
Second.
Okay, motion is second on those 3 tuition contracts. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so all three have passed. And that brings us to citizen participation, public comment. Do we have anybody else sign up? Okay, hearing none. Future meetings and events. Perry, when's our next work session? 14 plus 4 is 28. Are we having a?
We do it the 18th.
18, not 28.
It's that
All right,
math.
yeah, it's that,
Yeah, math will be on the next board meeting. Oh, it's math. He's
All right.
turning out a mathematician.
all right, I do better reading than that. Okay, so the next work session will be 18 October. And that'll start at 6 p.m.? Or is it 5 p.m.? 5 p.m.? All right.
And then November 1st at 6 p.m.
And November 1st, 6 p.m. will be the open session, regular first of the month meeting for the board. Thank you very much for that. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Well, before that, does anybody have anything else? No? Okay. Motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much, everybody.